Hey, yo, welcome to the QB School Show. Appreciate y'all being here tonight. Fire it up, talk a little ball, take our mind maybe away from some other things that are confusing and frustrating to a lot of us, but it's tough, man, with the vortex of no sports. So hopefully this fills just a very small void, but looking forward to talking ball. Bunch of trades going down today, pro days, and the draft is coming. And so I'm excited. Hopefully y'all are enjoying the college content. Let me know if you hear me. Give me a little thumbs up, or if you're cool enough to hit me with one of those emojis. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm in having fun with the college stuff. It is a lot of fun. I know those videos are long, but it's really the only way that I think I can give any sort of like quality analysis that is just different than what you could get anywhere else. And so fun for me to dive into the air raid stuff today with Washington State, Anthony Gordon. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think if you haven't seen the video already, but I appreciate the support watching those long ones. It's fun for me because that really is what it's like to be in an NFL quarterback room. You sit there and you grind games and you get a feel for what the opponent's doing, and I can imagine that's exactly what the personnel people do. So it's one of those things where sometimes you got to sit through some long meetings, and I get it that I don't want it to be, boring or into the weeds too much, but I do want to provide some context and not just show highlights, because I think that the audience here, the group that support this channel, understand and want a little bit more detailed, a little bit more nuanced take. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Probably going to get to, who's the next one I want to get to? Jordan Love, probably this week. McDonald, I want to say, from Hawaii, probably this week. And just kind of got really fortunate with a lot of good film, and I'm going to keep trying to crank it out. And it's not easy when everybody's hanging out at the house all day. And but we'll find a way to make it happen as long as y'all kind of continue to enjoy the content. So I appreciate it. Tonight, I know free agency, trades, all sorts of craziness. I will say I did a video pretty early on for the Patreon community about being traded. And so I'm not going to relive that video here, but I will tell you that being traded is a surreal experience. Now, when I got traded, I didn't necessarily want to get traded like some of these guys today. And I wasn't going to cash in on a huge payday at a new spot. But I will tell you that it is unsettling for me. And I mean, there are many things about playing in the league that are unsettling. Getting fired, publicly fired or cut many times. But getting traded is bizarre because you are a commodity. Like, your rights are traded. Like, it's like not in, I was bottom of the roster, so I wasn't like I had any no trade clauses or anything like that. I was just, pulled aside and said, you're getting on a plane in a few hours and good luck. Have a nice life. And so, it was tough on many levels. And so I get it. Even if guys, put out some social media that they're excited about getting traded, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of newness. And, I see both sides of it. I think Bill O'Brien is an easy target for a lot of reasons. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm sure people know a lot more about him than I do. Can poke fun at his record or what he's done or what he said or the decisions he's made. But the dude's a head coach, general manager of an NFL organization. You got to think that he believes in what he's doing. Now, whether it's right or wrong, time will tell. But to get rid of somebody who's that elite on the perimeter, you better know what the hell you're doing, or you're fixing to get up out of there pretty soon. So it'll be fascinating to see what it shakes down. But let me know. Hit me with some questions here, and we'll get this thing going. Nick, anything to suggest that Tannehill does or doesn't keep having success at Tennessee? I don't think I'm like, this is not a hot take by any means, but he was essentially the MVP of the second half of the league, or at least the last third of the league. And so, I think anytime you have a small sample size, there's reason to, hedge your bets a little bit, but I don't really see any reason why it doesn't continue to go the way it was going. I randomly saw a lot of Rabel stuff recently. I don't know if it was on Barstool or somewhere, but that dude is funny. He was a trip to play with and to play against. He was a hell of a player, but they seem to have it going on, and it's I don't understand. I don't know why he wouldn't. It's one of those things too, where it's not like he was being really productive with what they were asking him to do, but he wasn't throwing it 50 times a game. You're in the teens, throwing the ball. It's not managing a game because he was making so many big plays, and he was such a spark in their season and for their town and that organization. But he wasn't out there Mahomesing these games, as a verb. And so I don't know if it's something that he's going to be able to replicate. You hope he does, and you hope that they keep the momentum going. But usually those things don't carry over from season to season. So we'll see. What else we got? Oh, I know the story I wanted to tell. Gotta take it down for this one. So, pro days and the show-off throws on a pro day. So I want to say it was Herbert recently on his NFL pro day. I don't even know if they're technically NFL pro days now, but they had their pro day at Oregon. And to finish it up, he stands like flat-footed on the goal line. I'm sure many of y'all saw this. And chucks it like 60 yards, which is impressive. I could not do that. I think maxing out like crow hop, shuffle, full-on follow-through, kind of downhill with a wind. I was like a 65-plus guy. And so to throw that flat-footed 60 yards is impressive. And the dude's got a cannon. I mean, the film shows he has a cannon. But it reminded me of one of my favorite pro day stories that I can remember from playing. And you got to understand now, I know most people probably get this intuitively, but there's this perception of like tough guy-ness in the NFL and really anywhere, right? Like masculinity in general. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but everybody is sensitive to a certain degree. And pro athletes are no different, whether you're the star or the last person on the roster. And it's I feel like even more so for the stars. And so I remember really explicitly get traded to Green Bay, and I want to say it was like a Christmas Day game, like a holiday game. We played the Baltimore Ravens, and Kyle Boller, I want to say, was playing. Now I feel like there are probably holes in this story because I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure this is how it went down. I know Craig Nall has told this story many times because we still talk about it every once in a while. We were playing Baltimore. Kyle Boller is playing. And Brett he's a unique dude on many levels, but he's a sharp cat. He plays the fool a little bit as far as like the Southern country boy, but he's a sharp, competitive dude. And our offensive coordinator at the time, I want to say he was the offensive coordinator in the time. I think he had health issues and wasn't calling plays at the time. Tom Rossley. He was like an old SMU head coach. Was with Sherman, went with Sherman to Texas A&M. Well, Tom Rossley must have come in the year before I got there. I got traded midway through the season. And they talk, when you're on an organization, you talk about the quarterbacks that are coming out. You do. Like, who do you like? Why do you like them? Would you grade them? How, where do they fall? What's the pick? All those type of things, especially if you're a star player, you have an understanding. I don't know if you know exactly what the organization is going to do, but you know who the first round guys are. You have an understanding of what's going on in the draft. And Tom Rossley must have told Brett that he really liked Kyle Boller. Now, Tom Rossley is also the dude who told me that they were going to draft me, and they didn't. So you got to understand, I have a little bit of bias in this story. And I hope Tom is all right. I haven't talked to him in many years. So Tom loves Kyle Boller coming out of the draft. He ends up going in, I want to say, in the late first round to Baltimore. Well, meaning I'm on the Packers, we play Baltimore like a Christmas Day game or holiday game. And Kyle, I don't remember if we were watching film in preparation for the game or if it was at the game and we were talking after the game. Something about Kyle Boller, but his workout day that Tom loves so much is like he threw the ball from his knees, from the 50, like through the goalpost. Something ridiculous. Might have been one knee, whatever. Doesn't matter. But he did some throwing thing that like showed off his arm strength, which do it. But it really resonated with Brett because Brett has a cannon. And he came out before the pro day show off thing, really. And so it just needled Brett that like Tom loved Kyle so much. So we're playing. this Baltimore Ravens Christmas Day game, and whatever, Kyle throws a terrible pick. It happens. And we're watching it back afterwards in the meeting room, like in the quarterback room. And Brett just couldn't help himself. He's like, "Hey, Tom." And we all kind of had an idea what was coming. He's like, "Hey, Tom, Kyle should have thrown that one from his knees. That was not good." "What grade did you have him?" And it was just never ending anytime. Because you got to understand, you watch a lot of other quarterbacks, right? If you're preparing for an opponent, you might watch 6 other quarterbacks play against that team. So you get to watch the same people, especially if you're playing, if they fall within your schedule. Like if you're in the NFC and you pull the AFC North, AFC West, so you're going to see all those quarterbacks all year in all your film. And so we pulled the Baltimore matchup that year, and it was just like we saw Kyle every single week in these videos that we'd have to watch, and it just killed Brett, and he just couldn't help himself. That like, yeah, bro, it's great. You can throw it from your knees through the goalpost, but can you play quarterback? Can you actually throw it straight when it matters in a game? And Brett just couldn't let it go. So it was one of my favorite Kyle Bowler, Brett Favre stories. And both are actually really good dudes, but I don't know if they ever probably know that story, but it was good for me. And I chuckle every time I see those type of, show off throws, which are great. Obviously, I'm probably jealous I couldn't do it, but it's does it really translate into being a good NFL quarterback? Probably not. That was longer than I wanted, I think. All right, what else we got? Yeah, so I mean, Jimmy Graham going to the Bears, I don't, for my money's worth, it's not a massive deal for either side. I think anybody who's watched him play the last few years has probably realized that he's not quite the same player that he was, and I don't think he ever was that great of a blocker by any means. He's just a glorified wide receiver when it comes to where he lines up, and so hasn't been anywhere near as dynamic, especially in the red zone, bizarrely, over the last few years, and so I don't think the Packers are sad to see him in the division. Brian, hit me. What was the question, Brad? Let me see if I can see where it is. Yeah, ask it again, Brian, because I didn't see it. Let's see if I can pull it up. What is the best pre-snap routine for quarterbacks? What did your coaches teach you in the league? That is a good question. Like many things, there aren't kind of universal guidelines for this. I think if I wanted to give you a universal, it depends on the play, first of all, because some things are irrelevant for certain plays. But if you're talking just vanilla, what I used to look at, I used to try to do the same scan every single time. Now, did I do it? No. But when I thought about it, that's what I used to try to do. So I used to try to go from left to right safeties, from right to left corners, from left to right backers, and then left to right, left to right safeties, right to left corners, left to right backers, and then back to the safeties for the snap. And then at the snap, it's really post-snap confirmation. So it was just that fast. And every once in a while, you'd have to be locked in with what the front is, especially if there were a team that jumped in and out of even and odd Bears type stuff. But most of the time, those things are pretty locked in once you get going, as long as you're not in short yardage or something like that. So for me, it was always safeties, corners, backers, back to safeties for the snap, for right at the snap confirmation was kind of my own personal ritual. I don't think there's one way to do it. I don't think it. The other thing that I always used to think about, and I know I've talked about this a little bit on this, is when you're playing quarterback, it's a little bit different than coaching or being a fan, because you get the bird perspective, right? Like the macro airplane perspective. When you're practicing that pre-snap recognition, you really have to do it from the helmet. So it's not like you're watching film with a clicker, like saying, oh, safeties, corners, backer, safeties. It's scanning at eye level. And so I always used to I would always intentionally try to be really wide with my vision. In fact, I remember having young coaches tell me, you want to stay as wide as you possibly can. And then as the play develops, you narrow down into, but you really never even follow. Like I tell our high school quarterbacks all the time, like very few routes are you following the receiver. That's kind of one of the things that I was struggling with today with the Anthony Gordon thing. In the air raid, there are some elements of some of those routes that require the quarterback and the receiver to watch each other to kind of make sure that they're on the same page. And that's just not how I played quarterback. And so I was always someone who tried to anticipate as much as I possibly could and lead someone and be on the same page as far as depth and all those things. And so for me, it was always wide vision. So I wanted to be like safeties, corners, backers, back to the safeties. And that's just kind of the little kind of, I don't know what it would be, almost like an 8 of what you're trying to do. But I always, it kind of jumps over the front wise, but really, I mean, when you're playing quarterback, unless you're locked into like a run check, many plays you won't know, what side the 1 or what side the 3 is on. It doesn't really matter, once you're, for the vast majority of the stuff you're reading down the field. So for me, it was always, and I never really disassociate. The other thing that I think gets a little is mildly misleading is this idea of pre-snap, post-snap. So for me, it was never two separate things. It was always, what's the shell? How can I figure out what the shell is? Is it man or zone? Can I tell with the corners? Are there any identifiers with the linebackers, man or zone? Because oftentimes, if they're hedging over a running back, or their eyes are on the running back as opposed to the guards or something like that, or over their gap assignment, you can tell if it's man or zone. But that was really it. And then I was back to the safeties to see what exactly they were doing at the snap. And so that's one of the reasons I dislike the shotgun, even though we only go shotgun, is because you got to take your eyes off of it, for 1 second to look down. I was always, and you can see this is another thing that I can always tell when people haven't played a lot under center is, and this is a massive pet peeve of mine and it was for a long time, is you see guys take a snap under center and their eyes go down when they get the snap. Well, the best part about getting under center for a snap is that you can keep your eyes up the entire time. So you have your eyes on the safeties at the snap, as opposed to shotgun. You have to take your eyes down and then come back up to find them. And it's not like it's impossible, but it's definitely easier under center. And so for me, I liked being in shotgun because I felt like it was more comfortable. But on anything that I really needed to see what the safeties were doing, I liked being under center. And so, those are just kind of the things for me. So I was always pre-snap safeties, corners, linebackers, post-snap safety confirmation, and try to keep it as simple as I possibly could. Little Mike, that's a good one. Little Mike, what advice would you give to a high school quarterback going into a quarterback battle for the starting job? I mean, the same advice I would give to anybody going in to compete for anything. Find out what the decision maker is looking for. So whoever's going to make the decision on who plays, probably the head coach. Ask them explicitly, what are you looking for? Is it someone who's a playmaker, someone who protects the ball, runs the offense, someone who's creative, and try to become the absolute best version of that you possibly can be. And so there's no secret sauce when it comes to that, other than the fact that you got to have your eye on the prize the whole way and grind and hopefully enjoy the process and let the outcome, be what it may. Because if you don't enjoy the process, you're not going to have a chance. NorCal Kevin, that's a good question. How quickly should a QB go through his reads post-snap? Are there plays usually designed so that the quarterback goes through his reads as fast as possible? It seems like delicate timing. That's a great question. And so that really depends on the offense. Like, there are many different ways to do it. No one way is the best way, I don't think. But like, for instance, West Coast digit stuff, to me, those are usually built into the drop. So it's always tethered off the feet. So if it's a 5-step drop, it's usually at least 10 yards down the field. And so they'll usually be the way that the easiest way to think of it, and it's not universal by any means, is that if it's like a 5 no-hitch throw or 5 quick throw, the second read will usually be off 5 with a reset or hitch. So you take 5, first read's not there, hitch, second read, hitch third read, check down, or you got to go. And so it's usually built off every one of those hitches or resets. I don't really like saying hitch because hitch makes it seem like you're hitching up. To me, it's just resetting your feet. So tight reset, moving forward, kind of going through 1, 2, 3. So it's not really a, as fast as you can type of thing, because if you get through it too fast, some of the routes won't be ready. They're usually all built off depths that allow them to be ready when they're supposed to come open, when they're tethered to the quarterback's footwork. And so if there's a 7-step drop, you're going to get, in the NFL, you're going to get 20 18-yard routes. And so you don't want to, if you're all of a sudden decide he's open at 3 steps, they're not going to be ready. And so that it's always the quarterback's footwork tethered with the pass protection, because the pass protection will set deeper and deeper depending on how deep the drop is. And so all those things go together to kind of tell you how fast you want to get through the reads. The problem is you just don't want to get hung up. And if you get hung up, oftentimes they'll say you just skip one. So say we got slant flat on one side. That's a 3-step drop. Well, really, it's 3, maybe 3 no hitch to the slant, 3 and maybe quick reset to the flat. Well, if for some reason you come out and you hang on the hit, or you hang on the slant, like you give it a kind of load and it's not there, well, then you got to skip the flat and go right to the check down. So there's this timing element of being able to say like, we're going to instead of hanging so long that we're late on the second read, we want to make sure we're through our routes like that. Hit the mute for that cough. You're welcome. Charles, Dale, what's your favorite offensive system? That's an easy one. Easy. My favorite offensive system is whatever allows us to score the most points. I don't care what it is. I'm not tethered to, hey, we're running my system. Hey, we're running, someone else's system. I want the system to be adaptable enough so that our players feel like they have a loaded gun, as a terrible analogy, to be able to go out there and have a great night. And so that's what I care about. I don't care, as long as the system is adaptable enough to be able to change, especially depending on what level you're at. If you're at the high school level, oftentimes you're going to have a different type team every single year. And so it has to be able to adapt to be able to take advantage of whatever, those tools are that you have. And so that's what I look for. I look for a system that's adaptive and a coach that's willing to adapt every single year and not be stuck in kind of their way. This is our offense, or this is the only thing we run. Mitchie. SD Islander, do we know each other? You got a good sense of humor. Yeah, Brian. Never punt. Ever. I am a West Coast kid, Michael. You're right. Oh, Charles, you're coming with some good questions tonight. The defense that I disliked the most when I was playing, this is a little bit different now than the defense that I disliked the most. But when I was playing, I really disliked an odd front. And it's not because I thought it was more complicated. I just didn't like the other person standing up. It just felt like there were more defenders out there. And I knew that oftentimes they're bringing 4. So one of those people is coming. But I just didn't like the kind of, it felt more congested to me in an odd 3-4 where those 2 guys are standing up and they're playing in between and you don't know who's coming. So nowadays, I mean, yeah, the defense that I dislike the most now, whatever's stopping us, I don't really have a preference one way or the other. I think that offense has such a huge advantage in today's game that that you can't really get down on any sort of scheme the defense is going to have is almost always going to be, in trouble if you're going fast. All right, I'm going to run and get one more beverage. Hang tight for 2 seconds. All right. Thanks for hanging. Oh man, up to 100. No P. Almost tripped on the microphone. All right, what we got? Give me some more good questions here. I'm having fun with this stuff. It is tough in here to just talk to yourself the entire time. Cameron, you got it, man. Be a coach. Enjoy your time in high school. No rush to be a coach. You can always coach. You can always just do business management too and be a sports management. That's always... Don't let them think that you just have to study sports to be in sports. NorCal 7, you'd be disappointed if I told you what I was sipping on. This is soda water. Pretty sad, actually. I don't know. I just haven't been feeling it being stuck at home. You guys have any, Brian, that's a good question. You have any suggestions from this group about what the next X's and O's video should be? I'm addicted to soda water. I'm open to suggestions. I've been having so much fun with the college stuff. I haven't even thought about what the next X's and O's video should be. Oh yeah, true. I haven't done any play action. When you say play action though, do you mean you want me to do like a pass protection thing, or you want to do like play action shots down the field? Because you can tether any concept to a different protection, I would think, for the most part. Carlos, I can tell you I'm probably not going to do the drills. That's not my bag. Come on, give me something else here. Snag spot, that'd be a good one. They are universal. Yeah, Nick, that's a good call. I could do something from the college stuff. I've been enjoying watching the Oklahoma stuff, actually. Sail, snag. I see snag keep popping up. Mesh. I could do mesh, but I'm not like a mesh connoisseur, really, or expert. Bunch routes. Bunch, and you know what else is in vogue now, I feel like, in the league is squeeze, what I call squeeze, really 2x2, just tight formations. It's funny, I like those things for certain things. I felt like sometimes it condensed it down. It felt like it was like arena football, like everything was tight, like let's use the whole width of the field. Could definitely do bunch. There are so many concepts that you could do out of bunch. Yeah, Brian, the Hawaii quarterback, I'm probably going to do this week. He might be up next, actually. I think I might do Jordan Love for a little remote. Better work. There it is. My camera turns off after like 30 minutes. I want to do the Hawaii quarterback. The Jordan Love will probably be Patreon, and I'll probably do the Hawaii one for the YouTube channel later in the week. But the snag could be good. The thing about those X's and O's concepts, and even if I did a college one, I don't have the drawings for those. I could do it I could easily do the snag and spot stuff because everybody runs versions of that. And then the other thing is that I'll talk about with this group is that I know y'all or many people on those videos will be like, it would be great if you could, put video in there. And yeah, I agree. It could be great if I could put video in there. The problem is when you put NFL copyrighted stuff in there, those videos get demonetized, or like, the NFL takes all the rights from those videos. So one of the points with this offseason has been trying to create my own content. And so that's one thing about having all these playbooks. I can just go in there, snap stills, and it doesn't pop up. So that's why there aren't videos in those X's and O's things. Although I might try to put in some of my high school stuff if we run the same stuff. Broncos free agents. I got no idea, bro. Yeah, give me some suggestions with the Hawaii tape. Yeah, Brian, you can absolutely send me film if you have it. It's got to be. Are you talking the Hawaii? Brian, are you talking the Hawaii one? The problem with film for me, and really film for anybody, is that when you share it, or depending on how I'm getting it, is if the quality, you got to understand by the time that I share it on YouTube, it's been cut and spliced and the frame rates are so low that I need really high quality to start with, because, I cut it down on my stuff the way that I edit it. And then, it just keeps getting condensed. And at some point, if you go back and look at my early videos, the frame rates are not great. And so I'm trying to keep it as high quality stuff as I can get. But if you have high quality film, absolutely, please share it. It would be fun to do like an old school one. But again, I've tried to do like my own. I thought, I'll go back and do like a me playing one people always ask for. And that's not even high def. It's like 2008 and the video quality sucks and it's terrible and I can't even put it on. And so it's a fine line being able to find something that looks good enough to be able to do it. But I think it would be great to be able to go back and do like the old school quarterbacks to see what it's like. There you go, Kyle. I do need to get a little bit. The leadership stuff was going to be a much bigger part for me this offseason when I didn't think I was going to be able to get the college film. And then when I got the college film, it kind of took a back seat to everything else just because I'm really liking that. It's fun for me to see stuff that I'm not that familiar with, like breaking down the air raid stuff. For me, it's fascinating because that's not my world. I can pretend that I know what the reads are, tethered to the footwork, tethered to where the quarterback's looking, but, I don't really know. And so I'm just evaluating just on the technical element of what the quarterback's doing. And so that stuff for me is really fun because in the league, once you get, the core elements of what most people are doing, you can damn near tell what every single thing is. And so the college stuff for me is a great idea. I would love to do the greatest show on turf. I should see if Martz will come on here. That would be funny. That would be a good first guest host. You guys just turn up one day and it's Mike Martz hanging out in the library. What else? Probably got like another, 10-ish minutes. I feel like my throat always kind of starts to shut off on me. I'm not used to talking this much. Nate, I can tell you that we are not doing the triple option on this channel. I appreciate the the idea, but that would be that's not going to happen. The other thing that I would like to get into at least a little bit is the pass protection stuff. I feel like there are just so many people who either don't care or don't know or are just aren't locked into just how important that is to the pass game. And so it would be fun for me to kind of go back and see about, it's so easily available nowadays to see like what the grades are for Pro Football Focus. Go find the best offensive line, and watch how they do it. At least just to give a context about how important it is for a quarterback to be upright and to not have anybody in their kind of space to be successful. Because when you're getting blasted, you just don't have a chance. And yeah, you can hedge those things a little bit with play calling, running the ball, play action, moving the launch point of the quarterback, whether it's nakeds, play actions, movements, anything like that. But at some point, you're going to have to take a pass set. And at some point, you're going to know who to block. And at some point, you're going to have a back on third down who can step up and blunt a linebacker. And those things are really important over the course of a season and to play football on Sundays at a really high level. And I don't think people get how important they are. I think you do. I mean, you always hear teams say, like, we're going to build the team from the inside out. And, the left tackle is so important. Tackles, whatever, both sides now. And now we see that there are some great guards in the league. But when that offensive line unit is playing at a high level and the pass protection unit is locked in and they're together and they're healthy and all those things are going together, it's really a thing of beauty. And it's one of the things that I think is really undervalued when you talk pass game scheme-wise with stuff. Because anybody can get up and draw the best X's and O's, but at some point you got to block somebody. At some point you got to stun somebody and be violent at the line of scrimmage. And I think that stuff for me is fun, and I think that there's space for that on this channel. I think some people would be like, I don't really want to watch big guys, butt heads. But it's so important in the pass game, specifically for the quarterback. If quarterback school-wise, when I was playing, I always wanted to know. I had to know where the line was going so I would know where I'm hot. Like I don't think I ever played a play as a pro where I didn't know exactly where I was hot. I didn't feel safe. In college it was a little simpler because I could just be like, if there's a free runner, we had a little bit more kind of creativity to be able to just go make a play or put it on them right away. But in the league, every play had a hot breakdown, had a side adjust if it was on the backside. And that's just the way you roll, and that's just your world. And I don't think fans and people who aren't in it get how important that is to play the quarterback position. So I'd like to do a little bit of that, like kind of pass protection / hot pass pro adjustments from the quarterback position. I don't know if that would resonate. Can I just tell y'all that I love seeing the blue logo, the dark blue logo? What it go from turquoise to blue? I think there's at least 2 or 3 more colors. So I appreciate the support. What else we got here? L Train, always asking about the Audibles. To me, I mean, again, this is system specific. So, some places you get a little bit more freedom than others. My favorite systems usually, and this is going to sound weird, but like you didn't have to audible. And what I mean by that is you have answers. So if you don't have an answer versus 0 on a certain pass concept, then yeah, you have to audible. Maybe you go like max protect, take a shot. But every play, theoretically, at least the way that I'm used to building, or I aspire to build out plays, is you have a hot answer, you have a coverage answer if they drop back and only rush 3, you have a side adjust answer for our backside issue. So it's always like you got to know what you're going to do versus 0 every play. Every play, you have a 0 plan. And so if you don't have a 0 plan, I think that's when you can get into straight up audibling. Like, for instance, the high school that I coach at, we're not audibling. There's no audibling. I can call the plays from the sideline. So I would be great if someday I get to the point where I trust our quarterback and our offensive unit to do that, but we don't have to. I can just yell, hold up, like, caw, stop. And they all look over me and I'll change the play. So that's me audibling. But like, there's no full-on audible. And I don't think that there are that many full-on audibles anymore at any level. Like, there might be some hand signals that you can change stuff at. But like, to change the pass protection, everything, there might be. And maybe I'm way off my rocker, but I don't think it happens that often, especially in the league. Like, I just don't. I think that they spend so much time preparing, getting you into those situations, that they're not going to just give it up and let you go like Joe Namath it out there and call whatever you want to call. And I don't think that would be in the best interest of quarterbacks, to be honest with you. Like, I consider myself someone who could handle a high volume of stuff when it comes to game load wise, as far as installs and what we could carry in the package. And I wouldn't want to have called every single play when I was playing. You just have other things that you're thinking about. So yeah, if they hit me with a 0 and we're running, fullback belly dive, can I audible to take a shot, max protect to a post? Sure. But like, I don't want to get in the process of having to check, recheck, we check, they check, all those things. Like, that's just not the way that the game's played anymore. Maisha, let me see. Tom Brady and Randy Moss, or Montana and Rice? I'm going to go Tom Brady and Moss. Maybe that's just recency bias, but I was a Steve Young fan when with the 49ers. That's a good question, though. I like it. AJT, what should you look for when studying a quarterback's footwork on film? Joe Burrow video, you alluded to him having been good enough to not need perfect footwork. Who is a quarterback with perfect footwork? I don't know if there is a quarterback with perfect footwork. I think of guys, for me, and granted, this is just me, right? Like, there's no universal doctrine on what footwork is. But for me, the footwork that I want to see, when I'm talking footwork, I'm talking about at the back of a drop. Is your throwing position the same and as consistent as possible? And what I mean by that is, if you're up on your toes, bouncing around, you're not going to have a consistent platform to throw the ball. You're also not going to be able to generate force into the ground, kind of any sort of powerful base. You don't squat on your toes. You want to generate force into the ground before you start rotating, ground force and rotational force. And I just want that to be consistent. So not too wide, not up on your toes. Obviously you have to be lined up. I think some things that I take for granted when you're watching NFL or college athletes is they have pretty good fundamentals. Like, they're going to step to the target. Their shoulder's going to be turned. You're not out there at like a, junior high kind of learning level. We're talking about elite athletes that do it at a really high level already. But for me, I'm looking for consistency from the throwing position. And so I want that to be as consistent as possible. When you look at guys like Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, they get away with not doing that. And I think it gives, if you're that athletic, yeah, maybe you don't have to do it all the time. But for someone who isn't, the vast majority of people, you want to be as consistent as possible from the throwing platform at the top of the drop. So that's what I want to see. When they go to hitch and go to throw, are they in the same throwing position almost every single time? And that's what I'm looking for when I say consistent, strong, solid footwork. All right, y'all. That's 2 soda waters down. Let me know in the comments. I'll go back and try to read, but I think I saw snag and spot a lot. If there are other ones for the X's and O's, let me know. Reach out. I'll do my best to make it happen. Other than that, wash your hands, play your part in the community, and stay away from people. Chill out for a little while. And we'll try to do this again next Monday. And other ones, let me know if who you want to see college breakdown wise. Love, Hawaii dude. And I don't know who's after that. Maybe Tua again. So thanks so much for watching. See y'all next time.